walking down the street one day. A man came up to me and asked me what the time that was on my watch. Yeah. And I said, yes, I said, does anybody really know what time it is?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Business Powwow with Darren and the Music Man. In case if you don't know, I am the Music Man.
And Good evening, Music Man. How are you today?
All right, I am fine.
Did you have a good week?
Day up.
Oh, it's gorgeous out today.
Beautiful.
Fall is here, right?
Fall is absolutely here. I wore a jacket this morning walking the dog. It was a bit chilly.
Yeah,
it was like 57 degrees, so we put it on.
It's getting there. It's getting there. How is the dog?
The dog is getting large.
Oh, yeah. That dog's going to be big, man.
The dog is getting large. We got her up to 30 pounds now, from 14 to 30. And she's just beautiful. She's such a sweetheart. I'm so glad we rescued her. It's good for me.
Excellent.
It's good for her. It's good for me.
Excellent.
You know what's also good for me and for you and for our audience?
Our guest. Our guest. This is going to be a fun show today because we're going to talk about
the guest is fun, and she does something very, very special that not many people do. They say they do, but they don't do it as well.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing, and I think this is when we introduce her in, you'll find out why. But people generalize in how they get out there. She's very specific in what she does and how she does it.
And she tells it to you. Yeah, she can help you, she'll help you. And if she can, she can. So let's welcome to the stage, all right, Lorraine Duncan from Biz Gone Social. Hello, Lorraine.
Hey, Lorraine. How are you?
Hey, nice to see you.
Hey, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Lorraine. So tell us about Biz Gone Social. What is your company all about? How did you get involved? How did you even get started in it?
Well, yeah, it's a little odd. It's an odd story. It started with I couldn't get a job, and I was a stay-at-home mom. And I literally was going for all these interviews. I was either overqualified, underqualified. They didn't want to pay me enough. And so like a weekend after a long week of even group interviews, what ended up happening was I was at a wedding and there were a bunch of disgruntled business owners talking about their businesses and how they were doing so bad. And they didn't group interviews. And they didn't know how to they didn't know how to market their businesses. And so I was giving them all these ideas and somebody came up to me, did you ever think of being a business consultant? So I looked that up. Long story short, they wanted me to go get another degree. My degree is in religion, believe it or not. And literally I didn't want to go back to school. So I became a certified business coach. And while I was marketing my business on social media, my coaching business, I just fell in love with social media because I still get to do the coaching part, meaning that most business owners, it's not their services that are bad, it's their mindset. So, I mean, that's how.
Let me ask you a question. Let me interrupt you for a second and ask you a question. You became this coach, which is great. Well, what did you do before you became a coach? What business were you in? What did you do?
Oh, I worked in a hospital. I worked in a psych ward in Newark Hospital called CP2, which is now CP3. And I worked with people who had mental illness and actually drug and detox. So I was a night
degree. Do you have a degree in that, or are you certified?
No, I was. They only wanted somebody with an associate's degree, and I had an associate's degree in religious arts.
Okay. So you said you couldn't get a job, so evidently you got laid off, or you left the job for whatever reason, and you were looking for work, and you couldn't find anything that you really wanted to do. And, like you just said, you became a coach, you started working with social media. Before the show, we were having some conversations and stuff, and we were talking about social media. And my partner said, well, it's good that you do SEO. But you were like, no, I don't do SEO. Well, what's the difference between social media and SEO?
Well, social media, of course, is all those platforms out there, such as Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and many more, TikTok, Snapchat. I can go on. And SEO is almost like a backlinking process that goes to the website. So where I bring on the outbound, bringing people to your website through social media, SEO is behind the scenes doing little linking and bringing and using Google. I mean, Google AdWords is another thing that I don't do, but it's a great, it's expensive if you're in one of those power professions, like such as doctor or lawyer or plumber, for instance. They have to pay high for it. And same with SEO. So it's way different. It's more of, like Facebook. You're making a post, maybe you're advertising to it. There's no SEO in it. However, LinkedIn actually, because if you Google your name, usually when you Google your name and you're on LinkedIn, what ends up happening is that you become #1 on Google. Your name will come up before even your website. So when I Google my name, Lorraine Duncan, what's funny, a photographer always comes up first because there's a photographer named Lorraine Duncan on LinkedIn. And then I come up, and then way down comes my website. So LinkedIn really has it in with Google that they, it seems like hand in hand, LinkedIn is the best place to be if you want to get your business noticed.
But doesn't it depend also on the business? Because I know, and maybe you can even make some suggestions in chat about it. In what I do for a living in the entertainment world, I've been told that LinkedIn is not the place to go. If you're, an insurance company, or, like my partner, you're a consultant, you're an accountant, whatever, okay. But there are certain industries where LinkedIn is good and where it's not.
Well, what I have to say to that is I think LinkedIn is good for any profession. And in your profession, for instance, you could talk to decision makers that invest, so sometimes if you were looking for somebody to sponsor your entertainment, that would be how you would use LinkedIn.
So I have to agree with you, Lorraine, that LinkedIn can be effective for everybody. I think the misconception is LinkedIn is very business, or if I'm looking for a job, because they do a lot of job posting stuff. So people don't look at it as the same as going on Facebook or going on Twitter or those type of things. And to some extent, it's not. It's more professional. I think it's a more professional social media site.
If people will go in to go to a concert, they're not going to LinkedIn.
Right.
They will go to something other.
Yeah,
Right.
No, I never found out about any concerts through LinkedIn. Interesting that you had mentioned though about the job thing. So people used to set up their LinkedIn accounts like a resume, which is ho hum boring, and
Right.
Now you don't do that. If you're a business owner, you want to make your profile very client attractive. So the bottom line is you're not using it. Yes, it's a very powerful resource if you're looking for a job, or if you want to find somebody that's looking for a job, definitely. But it's not the all. There's other things that you can do on LinkedIn, and one of it is very efficiently you can market without being too salesy. Well, there are people out there that are a pain in the butt and they spam everybody, but
yes.
for the most part, people try to honor the whole, let's create a relationship first. That's what's really important.
Well, now, one of the things that you said earlier, which is very important for, as we discussed earlier, I do business coaching also. Okay. And I do it from the operational side of it. I don't necessarily do it from the marketing and the social media side of it. But one of the keys and one of the things that you said earlier was mindset. A lot of times when we run into clients that need our coaching, right away they're like, okay, I'm going to hire you and I want a quick fix. But they don't want to do anything. They just kind of want it to happen.
Right.
How do you approach somebody that doesn't have the right mindset? Or do you tell them, look, I'm just not going to work with you because it's just not going to work?
Yeah. I've had to do that, actually, say that, hey, we're not a really good fit and I don't think I can help you. I'm better at that now. In the beginning, I had a lot of clients that didn't want to do the work. I feel that coaching is such an essential part to everybody's life, not just business owners. but moms, dads, you know, kids that are in college, I think everybody needs a coach at some point, because it's a way that they can see, that you can see maybe how you can get clear on really what you want to do. And if you're not clear on really how you want to live your life and do your life, then you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to be stuck. One of the things I have, my nickname is Lori, by the way, and I have something called Lori-isms. And I always tell my kids, my kids are all adult children now, but I always told them, he who implements the fastest wins. And the bottom line is if you're not, I'm an action taker. If you ever taken the Colby A, I am, you know, a very quick start, and I'm a very fast action taker. I always been. So I'm a rule follower. You know, if my coach gives me an assignment, and by the way, I'm still being coached. So if you know, I need to do something, she always says to me, well, when are you going to do it? You know, it's, and that, just that one thing, putting a date to it. How many times do people say, I'm going to like launch something. I'm going to launch my business. I'm going to get a website done. Mm-hmm. And then they do, but they spend all this time doing the website, getting email marketing done, but they don't have any clients. So there's a big problem there. There's a big disconnect. And I'm a big thing, get your clients first. And then you can worry about your website and your email marketing and everything else, and your social media marketing.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
A lot of people think because they get a website, they're going to get clients. It doesn't work that way. It's just the opposite.
Well, I look at a website as more of your brochure, right? 20, 30 years ago, we all had brochures. We had, you know, that's how we got our clients. And that's the way I look at the website, is a combination of a marketing tool. Well, it is a marketing tool, but I agree with you. You got to go out and you got to get the clients. Let me ask you this question. I come to you, I'm a brand new business owner. I'm just getting started, you know, and I say, okay, I got to get my website up. I got to get all of that stuff happening. Lori, and it's okay to call you Lori? All right.
Sure. Yeah,
all right.
free.
Okay. So I say to you, I say, okay, Lori, how do I get these clients if I don't have a website?
Yeah, and see, so here's one of my criteria. I actually will not work with somebody if they don't have a website. And the reason being is because some of my marketing will go to their website.
Okay.
So a lot of, some of my strategy is to a page. Sometimes it's the contact page. Sometimes it may be something that a service that they're offering on their website. So, and remember with the website, it's, if somebody's not captured within 30 to 60 seconds, they will never come back to your website again. Absolutely. So you have to give them a reason. So I always say it's whatever's above the fold on a website is the most important thing. So that's what I tell them. I tell them, you know, get a quick website up, and then we can do social media marketing. However, it's not a necessity to start business. So get a couple clients, make sure you can afford me. Because the thing is that a lot of startups, you know, don't have the extra money for social media marketing. So they literally have to, you know, do it themselves, which they hate it. And they don't do a good job at it. So that's, you know, it's always a little give and take. I remember being that person. You know, it's like, I'm not going to hire somebody to do this. Now I'm ready to hire people to do things. And I have. I've hired video people to come in and do some videos with me. I've done a lot of stuff. So it's just little steps. But I think the biggest thing is, again, what you said, it's like mindset. They say, I used to believe that mindset wasn't that important, but now I think it's important to have 90%. I would say you have to have a great mindset.
Now you have local clients, you have national clients, you have international clients. So I'm just Joe Schmo, and I give you a call. I said, I heard about you. What do you ask me? What do I have to give you? What are you looking for? How do I get started? How do you get started with me?
Right. So I have like a process for, I'll ask a few questions, because it right away tells me, for instance, if they, first of all, can they afford me? Do they have enough content? You know, because so I'm more of a content marketer, because I think relevant content is what sells. Stories sell. People, you know, people aren't going to do business. Again, it's that whole know, like, trust factor. And I say that because on social media, it's slower. So like I'm talking to you face to face right now, right away we've made a connection. You either know me, like me, or trust me. And but on social media it's slower. So how I look at it, I constantly.
What do you mean by slower? What do you mean by slower?
Well, it's a process. It's in other words, somebody's not going to go online and say, "Oh, look, Lorraine Duncan, Biz Gone Social. I'm going to hire her right away." Most of the people that hire me from online have gotten my newsletters. They've seen my content on either LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, and it's like a relationship. It's like
so they've had a number of what we call touches, right? So we talk about touches, right? So what do you think the average number of touches is needed for somebody to even have an interest in contacting?
In contacting me.
In contacting you. And by the way, how can people contact you?
Right. So as it's posted here, just you can go to my website and there's a contact page and you can fill out the form, ask a question, or you can make an appointment with me and we can talk if you need some questions answered. And my phone number is there too. And of course, you can join me on LinkedIn and message me on LinkedIn.
Now, what are the other things that you do, Lori? Is you have a podcast?
Yeah, that's fun.
You see podcasting like popping up all over the place, and we've been doing this now for almost 4 years. Okay, and we have a great time doing it, but you see that there's so many podcasts out there. What made you say, "Hey, you know what? I want to jump in the fray and I want to be another one of the thousands of podcasts"?
And what's your podcast about?
Yeah, so I'll tell you. So is the Biz Gone Social podcast, of course. And interestingly enough, so in February, when COVID just was February of 2020, when it was just, there was rumors that things were going to close down and it looked pretty bad. I'm like thinking, well, I'm not going to be able to network anymore. Mm-hmm. So I reached out basically to all my people who I've done business with. And I said, look, I'm going to have like a 30-minute, every Wednesday, I'm going to have a 30-minute chat. Let's just come on and chat. So I did that through Zoom. And, I had as many as 20 people on, as little as sometimes 3. And, then I started bringing guests on to talk about how we can do our business from home, online, how we can be productive. And then I always wanted to, I love radio and I always wanted to be a podcaster. And so literally I said, I'm going to just do the Biz Gone Social podcast. And I started out with just me. I was giving social media tips, but that kind of got boring because I was doing a weekly podcast. So for me, it was boring. So if it was boring for me, it had to be boring for other people too. So basically what I did is I figured, let me give to the community. Let me start interviewing businesses and let them at the end share a little something about their business. And I've had some really dynamic conversations, some not so dynamic, but they still had very relevant content. I try my best. It doesn't always happen, but I try to keep my podcast under 20 minutes because there's so much information out there. And I want to so I'm like one of these, that's why, I created that program, LinkedIn 13 minutes a day, because who has time to listen to a 2-hour podcast?
Right. Not many.
Then I monetized my podcast. And it's so funny because I didn't monetize it from the begin with. And it's like, once I started to monetize it, more people have downloaded it now. And I don't have the numbers that I wanted yet, but I don't do anything really to market it. It's kind of like the shoemaker's kids never have shoes.
Yeah. So wait a second, you're a marketing person and you're not marketing your own stuff. So
well, it's funny because at one point I do this thing called a LinkedIn reach out for clients. I do that myself, but when I needed it to get done, I hired somebody to do it because I can't do everything. I'm pretty good at marketing.
Stop right there. You are on our show tonight and you are marketing yourself and your business to all our followers. There are people that are watching us right now and there are some messages. Yeah. And there's one in particular, and why I said stop, because you said something that he talked about. His name is James Martinez, and he says, I happily pay people to do tasks that I don't want to do. And they do it much better. He didn't say it exactly like that, but that's what he said.
Right.
And while we're saying it, hello, Joe Ponte, and hello, Heather Hernandez.
Yes.
So thank you for tuning in.
That's my Heather Lee.
Heather Lee. Hi, Heather Lee.
That's my goddaughter, Heather Lee. So she's in Texas watching us right now. So
I'm like James Martinez.
he's so much like James Martinez.
Listen to me, Lori. I can't do a darn thing. The only thing God gave me was my mouth. Outside of that, I got nothing else going on. So I have people that wind up doing it for me, which is good for me, because then it allows me to do what I do best, and which is solicit business.
Mm-hmm. Well, as a business coach, and Lorraine, you experienced this, is one of the things we coach business owners to do is do what you do best. Hire people to do all the other things. And
exactly, yeah. And that's so important. I want to touch on this because it's been a big thing. It's like you want to work within your passion, but there's a book out there, like I can't think of the name of it, but it's like working within your genius zone.
mm-hmm.
So because the other stuff will wear you down. Like, it used to be, this is a funny story, everybody's going to laugh about this, but I had trouble, like invoicing people. It was like the administrative parts of things. And my husband had said to me, the idea, Lori, of you being in business is you actually have to collect money every once in a while. And so, now I have that all automated. So I do it through a subscription service. That's how so I don't have to invoice anybody. It just comes in monthly. So that makes it so much better for me. And again, you want to work, as a business coach, you want to work within what your passion is. And that's why I do what I do, because especially baby boomers do not want to do social media. They hate Facebook. They hate social media. They want to talk to you in person. They don't want to talk to you on social media.
Well, isn't it that's the crazy thing about what's going on today in this world with social media and everything else is you have the millennials who only want to text. They don't want to talk to anybody, right? Then you got us and the baby boomers. He's a baby boomer.
I'm the grandfather of the baby boomers.
He's, who want to talk to people. I grew up with, when I first got into business, there were no cell phones. There were no beepers. There were no beepers. There was, fax machine was the cool thing to have in the office.
Mm-hmm.
That was how we grew up, and all interactions were face to face.
See, to me,
by telephone.
Texting is the absolute worst way to do business.
Mm-hmm.
There is no communication. And even though you get a message, that's not communication. It's not really touchy. You're not really understanding what people are trying to say to you. It's just words. It's just words. You got to have communication. You got to be, like before I came here, I went to a network meeting. Before I came, I met a whole bunch of new people. And she says, let's talk now. I said, no, let's do it. You're busy now. Let's talk at another time. So tomorrow we have a conversation. Talk, not text.
Yeah, people don't understand that. I used to be a communications director at this church in Wilton. I used to do all their social media, email marketing, email communication. And sometimes, employee conflict or friend conflict or whatever, you're going to send an email out, right? I always tell everybody, put it in the draft. Mm-hmm. Don't send it yet. Sleep on it. And 100%, whenever I had conflict or something in my life and I left it in my draft box, I never sent it. The bottom line is, if you have something that, especially if it's, hey, look, I don't want to work for you anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. You did this wrong. You don't say it in a text message. You don't say it in an email. You talk to them face to face. That's a huge problem, and a lot gets lost in translation. That's why marketing online is so important. The words you use.
Well, it's easier to stay mad at somebody when you don't have to talk to them.
Yes.
When you have that personal communication, that's when you kind of go, why am I so mad?
Yeah.
Right? But if you're just texting and it's words and you can't tell Because what we all do is we translate in our own heads when we're reading a text, we read it as we think it's being said. And it could be being said very differently than how it's intended, right? Or how it's taken. That's the big problem with today's. So let's go back to the social media stuff. I'm a new business. I come to you. I got a very basic website. I need your help. I mean, do you look at the website and say, hey, we need to jazz this up a little bit? Do you help with that? How does it work?
Yeah, so you heard me say before, it's really important for somebody to have a website that goes along with social media marketing. So I will look at things like, well, what can I market? Besides somebody's services, what else can I market? And on a website, there's certain things. Sometimes there's a contact page. Sometimes they have a program or a course. Sometimes they have, a portfolio. So, I don't actually market every day to a website, but I use it as my marketing. And sometimes they have a blog, which is very helpful to a social media person. I have one client right now in Colorado who writes a blog every week. She's a coach and she does something called Masterful Mindset. And literally what we do is I do all her marketing from that one blog post. I make all her graphics, I make all her posts, and then every third post, I do a call to action. It could be sign up for my newsletter. It could be contact me if you want a free strategy session or discovery session, whatever everybody calls it out there. I like to call strategy session because I'm more business orientated. But the bottom line is that you want to have some assets to work with a social media person. Some people have just blogs, which is great. Some people have a great portfolio, like a photographer with tons of pictures. So
you said something very key though there, right? You said call to action. I think one of the biggest mistakes people make when they're putting social media out is they're not attaching a call to action.
Right.
Call to action. What is a call to action?
So it's asking somebody to do something. So for instance, you write a little blurb and then you can say, well, say for instance, I'm having a challenge, a Facebook challenge on getting consistent with Instagram. Okay. So we put that up on, you have to have a sign up page. So it's usually a link to a lead magnet that will sign up, and then a whole bunch of autoresponders will go up. It's as simple as that. It could be complicated as that, I should say, and simple as you want more tips like this, sign up, join my LinkedIn page, or sign up for my newsletter, or join me every Wednesday for Facebook Live. That's a call to action. The problem is people think when they put a call to action in that they're being too salesy. And here's what I have to say to all those people out there that have problem with asking for something. Think about if you were next to somebody and they passed out and they went into like some kind of convulsion or something. The first thing you would do is, of course, run to them. But if you yelled, someone call 911, guess what? Nobody's going to call 911. But if you point to someone and say, you call 911, they're going to call 911. So you have to ask with, and that's a crazy illustration. Right. The thing is if you don't ask, nobody's going to do anything. If they don't know that you have a website, they're not going to go to a website. Remember Field of Dreams? Yeah. Favorite movie of mine, right? If you build it, they will come. Well, guess what? If you build a website, they're not going to come. Right. You have to ask them to go to your website. That's what a call to action is.
All right. So when we come back, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to continue with Lorraine and we're going to talk about Biz Gone Social. We're going to take it to the next level and we're going to show you some of the tips and tricks that she gives in her classes that you can take from her in order to build your own business. We'll be right back after these messages.
Stay tuned.
Take to the highway, won't you lend me your name? Your way and my way seem to be one and the same. How sweet it is to be loved by you. understand my ups and downs. There you were, with sweet love and devotion, deeply touching my emotions. I won't stop. Thank you, baby. I just won't stop. And thank you, baby. Yes, I do.
Coming on the Business Power Hour gives you something that you don't normally get with your typical advertising on the internet.
Or in the newspaper.
Right?
None of that stuff.
You get thousands of viewers who see the show every week, not only locally, but nationally and internationally.
For a very nominal fee. Actually, we did it and we broke it down. It will actually cost you 0.75 cents per view that you get. That's it. All right, so if you're interested in being a guest on the Business Power Hour with Darren and the Music Man, please give me a call at 631-698-9696 or email me at norman@friendentusa.com or call Darren at...
You can call me at 844-987-CBMS. That was 844-987-CBMS, or email me at Darren@bphdmm.com.
I think I'm going to get in touch with you also.
Yeah?
I am, to make sure that you get here on time.
Oh, okay.
Next time.
Yeah.
All right?
It's the first time ever I've been late.
Pachera aquata, also known as the money tree, is a tree that flourishes in the tropical rainforest. Unlike other trees, it depends on 5 separate trunks to prosper, each one bringing its own share of water and nutrients to the leaves. Like the money tree, your business has many different trunks that need your attention. Sales, marketing, finance, operations, and culture. Fail to cultivate any one of these and the whole tree collapses. I understand this better than anyone else, which is why I developed My Prosperity Tree, a program designed to address all of these areas, not just one or two. We help you identify who you are as a company, define your direction, and assist with developing the systems that will enable you to scale your business the most efficient and effective way, allowing your company to bloom into your own prosperity tree. So plant your tree today by visiting myprosperitytree.com or call us at 844-987-CBMS. That's 844-987-2267.
Okay, welcome back to the Business Power Hour with Darren and the Music Man, and we have the marketing person for This Gone Crazy.
It's gone crazy. You know, I knew you were gonna mess up. We're here with Lorraine from Biz Gone
I mess
Social.
up every week. Accidentally on purpose. Makes you laugh.
It makes me laugh, and we apologize for that.
Well, you know, it's part of the
You
shtick.
know, and I want to say hi to Eileen. Eileen's out there. You know, our friend Eileen, who's always watching the show.
Hi, Eileen.
We really love
Oh,
it.
she's got her event coming up.
We
this
got
weekend.
this weekend. Yeah, Eileen,
Yeah.
we're doing a fundraiser with Eileen. We're gonna be there.
Yep.
You know, so we'll see you guys this Sunday.
Comedy show.
Comedy show, right? And was it Belmore? Was it Belmore?
It's online.
Oh, it's online. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
But we'll be there. All right. So getting back to you, Lorraine. Biz Gone Social. So you started doing this, and here's what I like about you. Other than you're a very nice person. All right.
Not crazy.
is the fact that you're a great example of how you can do many different things to still achieve what you want to achieve and do it differently. And what I mean by that is, you know, it's just a friend of mine just recently wrote a book about this type of stuff. And one of the things he said was, don't be the gray suit in the room. Everybody's a gray suit. So if you're, for example, you know, you want to be the orange in a bunch of apples. And what you've done with your social media by doing the podcast, doing the social media a little bit differently, is you become that orange in that bunch of apples. Because let's face it, you go online and you go, I need help with my marketing. There's thousands and thousands of people who tell you the same thing. And I recently got the other day I got a phone call on this, and she started telling me, I said, stop. I don't want to be on the first page of Google. I do that to them just to make them crazy. And they go, what do you mean? I said, because you're a dime a dozen. There's thousands of people out there that are doing it, but you're doing it differently. You're taking a different approach. You're not letting people buy into, you have to do it exactly how everybody else is doing it.
And everyone can't be number one. It's just that simple. Common sense will tell you, everyone cannot be number one.
Although I am. No, I'm kidding.
Again,
I want to be number one.
Someone else is there.
Yeah. So, Lorraine, let's go back to how you help businesses. Is there a specific niche that you work with, or are you kind of across the board with the type of businesses that you help?
So I work with a lot of brick and mortar businesses. I work with a lot of all kinds of professionals, so anywhere from like restoration people to lawyers to, plumbers. I've done some stuff for some musical bands and stuff like that. But my real sweet spot, and I do everything, like because a big part of my business is management. So I do a lot of management. And that means actually doing the work for you. So I have two kinds of services. I have DIY, do it yourself, or do it for you. And I much rather have people, I'd much rather point them towards the do it yourself.
Okay, so
my time, yeah.
Tell me about that, right? So I come to you now and I say, I need help marketing my business, but I don't want to pay you top dollar. I want your help, but I can do the work. How do you help them do that? So
sometimes it's a matter of I do an hour consultation and they're on their way and they're ready to go. I did that. I do something called a LinkedIn audit with people where I kind of look at their LinkedIn profile and I make it better for them. I help them make it more client facing. Really, there's some obvious things that a lot of people are missing on LinkedIn. And so I just go through their profile.
What's the most common thing that you find that people are missing on LinkedIn?
A profile picture. I mean, and here, let me just say something. Look at me now. You can see me. If you can see me, I will not connect with you on LinkedIn if you do not have a profile picture.
Well, I never connect with anybody in any social media if they don't have a picture.
Yeah, because I want to see what you look like, and a current picture too. I don't want your 16-year-old picture.
First of all, exactly. People can put up a picture that's really not even them. You don't know if it's the real picture or not. Back in the day when I was in headhunting, we would get resumes all the time. And all of a sudden, putting pictures on resumes was the in thing. The only problem was when I sent the resume to my client that was going to either interview this person or not, if they didn't like your picture, they don't see you. And that was a fact. So I would advise everybody, don't put your picture up.
Yeah, well, it's very important.
But you don't know if it's the real picture or it's not the real picture.
Yeah, and until you meet them in person. I remember going out to California for a trade show and meeting someone that didn't look like their profile picture at all. And it was actually shocking. I kept quiet though.
They came over to you and went, "Hey, Lorraine, how you doing?" And you were like, "Who are you?" Right?
Yeah, I mean, that's when I figured I was onto something, because this was when I first started social media marketing, and I was at this trade show and somebody came up to me, "You're Lorraine Duncan from Facebook," and I'm like thinking, it was kind of scary a little bit. So it's when you put yourself out there, be prepared. You have to be prepared for what comes next, and sometimes it's not lots of money and riches. Sometimes it's you get stalkers sometimes and crazy people. Yeah.
Well, you get people who, and we experienced this. Norm and I have experienced this because doing this show, I've walked into places and people come over to me and go, "You're Darren from the Business Power Hour," and they would start talking to me like they knew me, and I had no idea who they are.
And then I would get, "Oh, you're the music man. Your partner's with Darren on the business show, right?" Yeah. They don't know my real name, but they know me as the music man.
Right. Yeah. So and like you said, it's a really weird feeling when that happens, because you're like, okay, what's and I'm a very cynical person, right? So right away it's like, okay, what are they angling for? What's their motive to
Say
approach
hello.
me the way?
But, you know,
more times
you're
than
a
not,
celebrity, so
more
they wanna
times
say
than
hello.
not, that's what it is. It's people just want to say hello, and they want to be able to say they met somebody who's doing this stuff. You know,
Yeah.
before COVID, meeting face to face this way, like we are tonight,
Mhm.
wasn't very common. It was done.
There was no Zoom,
Well, Zoom was around, but it was
non-existent.
it was very fundamental, and I mean, COVID really just threw it in the forefront and has done a tremendous job in growing it. But you know, like you said, we had to rely on the LinkedIn pages and the Facebook pages to see what people look like.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
I have to say it's scary too, the whole thing, but networking. So I don't know if you remember, like once COVID hit and everybody was on Zoom, they actually had to move it to a password because people were crashing into the Zoom
Yeah.
calls. And it happened in my husband's networking group. Somebody crashed in, and literally now you can just like kick them off.
Right.
If you're the administrator, you can kick them off. But very, very scary. But in the same sense, let's put it this way, at a network event, you can only really talk and have a quality conversation if you're good, maybe with 20 people, a real quality conversation. Probably the top 5 are the ones you're going to remember the most.
Yep.
Well, on social media, it's a much bigger audience. So I always say, if you're not, like somebody says, oh, I have a social media page, this is what typical client that comes to me or potential client. I'm on Facebook and I've posted and it doesn't work. So then I come back and I ask them, I said, well, how often do you post? Well, I posted, 6 months ago. And I'm like, well, you know what? That's why it doesn't work, because you have to be consistent. You know, and you don't have to be crazy. I mean, on Instagram, you have to be crazy. You should be posting 2 to 3 times and a day and stuff like that. But on Facebook, you could get away with missing every once in a while. I mean, I do. And so, and I've come, you know, what I want to really do now is make sure that what I'm posting isn't fluff. It's something that whatever I'm posting, I think, this is what I think. Is it going to help the person that's reading it? Because if it's not, I don't want to post it anymore. So there's a lot of people. That's why on LinkedIn, you won't see memes of somebody's lunch or, you know, stupid memes. And when COVID hit, people were trying to do that. And, you know,
Does LinkedIn police itself with that type of stuff?
It does. It really does. Somebody will actually say, you really shouldn't post that. I mean, I reached out to somebody because they put the stupid meme up, and I'm like, if you want to get business, you probably shouldn't put memes up because this is a professional site. And
Well, not only that, one of the things that I find, because if you go to my social media pages, you'll find very little of my personal life on it, you know, only because, again, people can take it and they can twist it and they can turn it and they can make it, I'm a private person from my personal life side of it. And, you know, I don't want everything out there, but then you look, and this is one of the things I tell the kids now is that when you go for a job, like when I went for a job, when I went for my first job at this major accounting firm, I walked in, I had a suit, you know, I was dressed to the nines. Nobody knew me, you know, as I'm sitting at home in shorts and sneakers and, you know, and what I did on the weekends and those type of things. It was almost like you had 2 lives. You had your professional life and you had your personal life. But today with social media, that's kind of gone.
yeah.
Right?
But here's the thing, you want to, you know, when you're on social media, it shouldn't be so mechanical that you don't bleed like other humans. And this is what I tell people. Everybody wants to use social media to get clients, but they don't want to get to know me. And what I mean by that is you don't reach out to me if you know me from social media. You shouldn't reach out to me and ask me if I need help with my Facebook or LinkedIn marketing. Because if you would have read my profile,
Absolutely.
you would know that's what I've done. And that's the big problem is so when it comes to weaving in your personal story, which you can in a very gentle way, like I don't give a lot of details. I mean, I just got, for instance, I just got back from Kansas City. Nobody knows that. I do post a lot of personal stuff on my personal Facebook, but not everybody's privy to that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and that's what I have. We have a family Facebook that's basically just family, and we share things in there.
I never put. I have a Norman Facebook page. I have a Friend Entertainment page. On neither page is there anything personal of anything that I go into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of people
I'm not asking for prayers. I'm not telling anybody my wife went into the hospital. You know, that's not what it's for me. That's not what it's about.
Right. So, Lorraine, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
Again, you can get in touch with me through my website at bizgonesocial.com. And there's a contact page, so feel free to fill it out. If you want, a free 15, 20-minute consultation on some, area of social media, I'll be glad to, just schedule it, and I'll be glad to talk to you. I also, feel free to reach me, connect with me on LinkedIn. It's like my sweet spot, and you can message in there. And if you have a question or you need my help with something, you could definitely reach me through there.
I want to bring up the fact that you have a book.
Yes.
And the reason why I'm doing it, because it's getting late in the hour. And I want to make sure that everybody finds out about your book, what your book's all about, and how they can obtain it. So why don't you tell everybody what your book is all about, starting with the name?
So, of course, it's called Shout It Out. And it goes with the premise that I said earlier. If you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it. If nobody knows you exist because you're talking in a hole somewhere, then nobody's going to know you as a business owner. So I talk about the 4 platforms. I weave it in through the book along with some stories, very personal. I relate social media to some stories that why it's important, for instance, why social media is like changing a flat tire, or why, I make sure that I hit all kinds of things in business that you can use. It's still relevant for today, even though it was written a while back now. I think I wrote it like in 2018 or 2017. There will be a part 2 coming soon. I haven't launched it yet. And so I'm really excited. You can get it for free if you're an Amazon Prime member. And if you're not, I think it's still listed for 99 cents. I never put it to full price. So feel free to hop onto Amazon and get it.
So if somebody wants to, we see this all the time. I know you see it all the time. I see it all the time. People start businesses, especially when COVID hit. A lot of people were like, okay, I got laid off. I got to figure out what to do. I'm going to start my own business. But they don't know how to go about it. They don't know how to market. They don't know how to. And what you've done with this book, and correct me if I'm wrong, is give everybody a jump start. And it really doesn't cost them a lot of money to do it, because everything is out there for the taking. And what I mean by the taking is there are resources everywhere. You just got to look. And this is why you hire somebody like you, because you can point people in the right direction. And when people go, oh, it costs a lot of money to work with this person, to them it could be a lot of money. To me, it might not be a lot of money. But you're paying for that reduction of pain, as I call it. I'm going to save you time. I'm going to save you the pain of learning what I already know. And therefore, you're paying for that expertise. You're paying for that experience to get you to the point where I am a lot quicker than how long it took me to get there.
Right. And like coming from my perspective too, is if you think about it, if you hire me, then you can do what you need to do and what you're passionate about. So I take that right away. Like if somebody wants me to manage their social media, like I can do it in my sleep, where for them, they can't. You know what I'm saying? It's because they have to learn how to do it. It's a very, anybody can learn social media, but you have to be consistent. You have to have relevant content, and you have to make sure that you are reaching your target audience. And I say
so
that.
How do you make sure of that? How do you make sure that you're reaching my target audience?
Well, your target audience is a little broad in the music field because you're looking for, like, for instance, I think I saw one of your advertisements just recently for James Taylor. Was that?
Right. Then we saw that tonight.
Yeah. So I saw that tonight, and literally, I just think of the first if I was going to advertise for it, I would make sure that I was targeting James Taylor fans. Where do you find James Taylor fans? And you can find them anywhere. And there's probably a Facebook group for James Taylor fans.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I do.
And so but the problem is if you look at these people, and you as a business coach, Darren, would probably know this more, is that have you ever came across a client that, they did all the work. They put their mission statement together, their vision of why they're going to open up a business. Then they put together their target market. And then 10 years later, they come back and they're still not clear on who they're supposed to be reaching. You got to do this sooner than 10 years.
Yeah.
So I make all my clients, even though they've done it, and I've done it over and over again. And each time I do it, I get clearer of who I want to work with. And they say, well, I did this 10 years ago. I'm like, well, we need to do it again because there may be somebody you're missing. The target market, if you're not reaching your target market, then you're not going to have any luck on social media. And it isn't luck. This isn't hope marketing. It's not luck marketing. You want to know who you want to target. You want to know. That's why.
Well, but isn't that the misconception with a lot of people? Because, you hear this all the time with, SEO people are famous for this, right? Just spend a lot of money and the leads will come in. Well, if you're not being specific in your target and you're shotgunning, I call it shotgunning. If you're shotgunning everything, well, how do you know you're reaching, like you just said? How do you know I'm reaching the people I need to reach who want my services? I may be just throwing bad money. I'm going this way and all my audience is that way. And I'm throwing all my money over there and it's not going to get me anything.
Well, you'll know right away. And that's why, like, I'm an expert at what I do. For instance, like if I'm working for a dietitian, she wants me to do her social media for her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I do an advertisement for her. And everybody that she's pulling in are people who are models or other dietitians or are nutritionists. Then we're not hitting our target market. However, if we go into like Facebook groups of people who struggle with obesity, right? That's the target market. It's the same thing if you are a B2B and you have a service such as, maybe like what I do, social media marketing, or maybe a chat box, or maybe something that you're selling to business owners, right? If I'm reaching all social media marketers and people who do management or digital marketing agencies, I'm not hitting my target market. So right away, you're not going to get any clients. Last week, I had 30 digital marketers look at me on LinkedIn. Those aren't going to be my clients.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't even connect with them. I'm not even connecting anymore with digital marketers because they're not helping. I'll do a strategic alliance with a few of them, but I can't do strategic alliances with everyone.
And that's one of the things, because I get that all the time on LinkedIn also, where people want to connect with me. If one more insurance broker wants to connect with me, I'm going to scream, because these insurance guys, I'm an accountant. We're an accounting firm and we do business coaching. They all want to connect with me because they all think they're going to get business out of me. Like you said, you create strategic alliances with people that you know and you trust, right? So I'm not just going to take somebody and just make them a friend on LinkedIn with their expectation of, oh, we're going to do business.
Right.
Like, you said this in the very beginning. It's about creating a relationship. You got to get to know somebody. And that goes to being consistent with putting your message out and people seeing you all the time and seeing what you're about kind of warms them up.
You've also got to meet with them.
You got to meet with them.
You got to, whether it's on the internet or for a cup of coffee, you have to meet with them. And that goes back to the conversation we had before about text messaging. You can't do business with somebody on a text message. I mean, you can, but you're crazy. You don't know what you're getting yourself into.
Tremendous. I do a tremendous amount of business on text. I'm kidding.
Well, you can because you're very unique.
Yeah, people text me all the time, but it's not about business. Let's put it that way.
Listen,
If I tell you that we don't talk to each other during the week, trust me, we see each other on Tuesdays. Not because we're not friends, we're good friends.
no. Well, we'll
He's
talk every once
busy.
in a while.
I'm busy. If we have business things to discuss, we talk.
Yeah.
We don't text. Sometimes I texted, I know I called him today because I wanted to make sure that you had the right code because you had sent me a message.
Right.
And I said, do me a favor, please call Lori or send her a message with the correct code because I was in a meeting.
Yeah.
That was my conversation for the week with him.
Yeah. I mean, people, they don't, because people have said this to me. They don't believe that we don't talk to each other. We talk very low. We communicate via email. We communicate, but but it's like once or twice. We have somebody who coordinates in my office, coordinates all of the media for the show and all the other stuff that has to happen.
Like your flyer.
So I'm not doing it. He's not doing it. Somebody else is doing it for us. So we're not really,
He takes care of technical, I take care of sales.
and we show up and we
That's what
do the
we do.
show,
And then we do
that's
the show.
it. But
That's awesome. You guys remind me of the Odd Couple, or
Oh, absolutely. Martin and Lewis, the whole thing.
Abbott and Costello, or
Absolutely.
That's probably more apropos. Having
Yeah. What's up, Abbott? That's what we do. Anyway, guess what?
It's time.
It's that
So
time.
one more time, Lorraine, how can people get a hold of you?
again, it's at bizgonsocial.com. And, I want to, because I think that LinkedIn is so great, I just want to just do a little plug for my 13 minutes a day program, which is a course. I'm going to put links in all the different social media sites below and everything, but you could definitely click onto it on my website. Just look for LinkedIn 13 minutes a day. I just think with 722 million people that are on LinkedIn, yes, it's lower than all the other social media sites. However, 60 million of them are influencers and decision makers in their business. If you are a B2B, you want to know how to use LinkedIn correctly, and I can be that person for you. I would love to serve you and be that person for you.
Great job.
All right.
Great job.
And guys, if you want some advice, you want to hear what Lorraine's all about, you can get it on Apple Podcast. Where else can you hear it?
Cooler.
Right?
Just make a phone call. She's going to give you some
sometimes
15, 20 minutes.
And podcasts are a big thing now. I know kids love listening to podcasts, but the Biz Gone Social podcast is available all over the place. So get out there, listen to it. You got quite a few episodes, like 50 episodes, right?
Yeah, I've got 51 episodes, but for all the kids out there and moms, I actually interviewed a PE teacher, and she says and it's very short. It was like 13 or 14 minutes. And she's a good friend of mine, Jill Cardamone. She's a PE teacher. And let me tell you something, she gives some great advice. And, every kid should listen to that. I'm telling you.
All right, Lorraine. Well, we thank you for being on the show. Stick around. We're just going to say goodnight. And,
Thank you.
guys, reach out to Lorraine. She'll help you out on all your social media.
What a great show.
Excellent.
She really knows her business.
She knows her business, and and great job. Just a great job tonight. And
I got
it flies through our time.
some things to say. I got a phone call today.
From who?
I got on Facebook. I do a lot of sharing of my work.
Right.
And there's one particular, I didn't know that he owned this particular company or not, but I got a phone call today from Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And it was from a gentleman named Ron Scala. And Ron happens to have a talk show that happens to be about music.
All right.
So he hooked up with me. He says, "This the Music Man," just like we were talking before.
Right.
And anyway, he has a station called Gold Flash Radio.
Okay.
He has 250,000 people domestically, internationally, that listen to his music. He plays
Okay.
music and yada yada. Anyway, he asked me to be on the show
Really?
tomorrow night. So
Good
if
for
tomorrow
you.
night, if you haven't had enough from me yet,
You got to get a flyer out on that.
I gotta get a flyer out on that.
So-
If you haven't had enough and you want to listen to the more of the story of the music men in history, tomorrow night, Gold Flash Radio, ronscala@gmail.com, and we're going to get some information out. Also, I want to give a treat
What's
to
the
anyone
trick?
who wants it.
What's that?
I'm going to give everybody till next Monday
Okay.
to get in touch with me at 631-698-9696. 631-698-9696, and I will give you complimentary seats to see Stevie Wonder next Saturday night in Belmore. 631-698-9696. You want to come and see what we do and what we're all about? Please do. Give me a buzz.
All right. Okay. With that, you have a very safe week.
You too.
Everybody stay safe out there, and we will see you next Tuesday night right here at 7 p.m.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.